Happening now on Grid Tonight. The 2024 NASCAR schedule has been released. What are some of the most noticeable changes? Meyer Shank Racing will not return to IMSA in 2024. Was the fallout from Daytona the beginning of the end of their partnership with Acura? Marc Marquez and Honda have officially agreed to part ways. Is Marquez destined for a seat at Ducati and will spark a return to his old dominant form? Hello to all our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish. With me, Joshua Birch and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index. We encourage everyone to comment in the chat below, ask questions, and consider joining and consider supporting us through our super chat feature. And already got some comments in the active chat room right here. Amber said she and her husband are going to be going to the very first Iowa Cup race. Matt and Josh will talk about that in just a little bit. Then Adam Limmery's excited. We all know you're excited about this weekend's Bathurst 1,060 years. You're looking forward to seeing who can conquer Mount Panorama. You're really excited to see the cars get on track in just a little while. And Amber said 2024 is going to be lit. And speaking of 2024, Josh, take it away with the 2024 NASCAR schedules.
Thank you, Kobe. Good evening to you. Good evening, Matt. Good evening, everybody. So, yeah, NASCAR has released the 2024 schedule for the Cup, Xfinity, and Truck Series. It all starts with the Cup schedule. The season kicks off with the Busch Light Clash at the LA Coliseum, and then the Daytona 500 and Atlanta. There's no Fontana next year, so the West Coast swing is down to Las Vegas and Phoenix. The Bristol Spring Race on concrete returns, no more dirt track. Texas loses its playoff race and moves into the spring on April 14th. The All-Star Race returns to North Wilkesboro, and Iowa finally gets its long-awaited Cup race on June 16th. It will be a night race. The Chicago Street Race is coming back after a successful inaugural event after the city and NASCAR came to an agreement on how to improve the event for all parties involved. And of course, on July 21st, the crown jewel, the Brickyard 400, returns to the Indianapolis Oval, which will take NASCAR into the 2-week summer break for the NBC Sports coverage of the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris. Now, more the biggest changes is towards the end of the regular season. Darlington's crown jewel, the 7500 race, has replaced Daytona as the regular season finale. Now, the 2024 Cup Series playoff kicks off with 2 new tracks to the postseason. Atlanta is the new playoff opener, and Watkins Glen gets a playoff date. In the final 10 races, we'll have 2 road courses and 2 super speedway races, with the Charlotte Roval and Talladega staying in the playoffs. The 2024 season finale is back at Phoenix on Sunday, November 10th, and a graphic courtesy of NASCAR. Well, some like it, some don't. Matt, what's your overall take on the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series schedule?
Good evening to you, Josh. Good evening, Kobe. Hello, everyone watching around the world. It's going to be a big show tonight. We'll start off with this story we've kind of been waiting to happen for weeks now, and finally we've got the Cup Series schedule and the Xfinity and Truck schedule out today from NASCAR. Pros and cons. It is a shame that Fontana has gone away, but we knew that it was happening. Kind of most of that spring stuff has kind of shuffled forward really by 1 week until you get to Texas. And that's why there's no IndyCar race at Texas if it wasn't already plain to see. That's because that would have been the IndyCar date in April, and now NASCAR has got it, takes it out of the playoffs, as you said. Good to see Chicago back. They were really hampered, weren't they, by the weather this year. Hopefully that race can go off without too many delays and weather issues like it did have this season. That's a pro. Indianapolis back on the oval is a massive tick in the box. Good to see Iowa coming back. It's been so good for IndyCar, hasn't it, the last couple of years? Good to see that come on the schedule as a cup race after it dropped off all the schedules, hasn't it? Because it was Xfinity they used to go there twice a year, not so long ago, and was on no schedules at all. And now it's back with a cup date with Xfinity as the support. That's great. I'm not sure I like Darlington. The Southern 500, it's got its own mystique and its own prestige, and was a good way to kick off the playoffs. Not sure I like it as the regular season finale. If they'd only swapped that and Daytona around, having the Southern 500 in August would have been a bit odd. But to have those two switched around, Daytona as the regular season finale last couple of years has been really, really good. That first round of 16 just is mouth-watering. All manner of differences in there. Watkins Glen goes in to the playoffs for the first time after a super speedway race, and then before Bristol, the night race. That's going to be good. We've got the same round of 8 as we've got this year, which is cool, which we're about to get into in after the race at the weekend at Charlotte, the Roval race. Vegas, Homestead, Martinsville, that just is cool. I really do like that way that's wound out. Kansas has moved slightly further deeper into the playoffs. More pros than cons. That Darlington Daytona thing just bugs me a little bit, but finally got it out, and I'm pretty happy with the way it's gone out, frankly. Richmond on Easter night is Adam is giving a thumbs up to that one. And Amber says, I don't like the Olympic break because I don't care about the Olympics. I want more racing. I don't disagree, Amber, with that, but this is the problem with the NBC portion of the NASCAR season being on the Olympic broadcaster in the States. Kane's Cats Heat 305. Good evening to you.
There we are. Just wait until I'm on the screen because I was glitching a little bit. But yes, absolutely. It's a different schedule from what we're used to in terms of a few surprise dates, but I'm very much looking forward to getting behind the microphone in 2024 more often for NASCAR. Now, looking at the 2024 Xfinity schedule, we don't have too many changes here. They'll also join the Cup Series at Iowa and the Indianapolis Oval, plus a second race at Talladega in the fall. The most notable absence is no Road America, the iconic Elkhart Lake Road course. Won't see any NASCAR races next year. And last but not least, here's the 2024 Truck Series schedule. They'll get 2 concrete races at Bristol. With the dirt race going away, there won't be any dirt races next year on the calendar. COTA will be the only road course next year, with Mid-Ohio getting dropped. However, there will be 2 races at Martinsville, both graphics courtesy of NASCAR. Are you disappointed that NASCAR won't race at Road America next year? And should the Truck Series return to a proper dirt track in the future?
I am disappointed about Road America because the fans up there always come out and support what racing they've got, be it IndyCar, be it IMSA, and be it NASCAR over the last couple of years. Even the Cup Series races, those weekends, they were packed. It's a real shame to see, Xfinity have been going there for a fair while, so it's a shame to see that go away. Same for on the truck side as well. Same for Mid-Ohio to be slipping off the calendar as well. Dirt, I've never been a fan of the dirt stuff. Frank, just my 2 penny. Not really been a fan because we had a couple of years ago. We had 2 dirt races in the Truck Series with Knoxville and Bristol, and now all of dirt for the moment. And of course, Eldora not so long before that. And now all dirt is gone. Interesting note on the Truck Series, I thought, was that the race at Gateway in the middle of the year, when is that, June 1st, at Gateway on Big Fox.
Yeah.
All of the other races on FS1, but that one's on Big Fox. Just stuck out like a sore thumb, that one, when I saw the schedule tweeted out by Bob Pockers when it came out. That was on Fox and all the others were on FS1. Bit of a quirk, but happy all round relatively with the schedule. And Matthew Owens agrees. Good evening to you, Mr. Owens. A solid schedule. 8 out of 10 he gives it. I'm going to agree with him. 8 out of 10. It's pretty much bang on. Shame for Road America to be absent again, but NASCAR has done well serving the Midwest with the Chicago weekend coming back and adding Iowa.
Absolutely, and he did warn us that he would be in the chat a lot tonight, Matthew Owens, but nice to have you as well. He's getting his spreadsheet together for everything with USON's coverage as well. On to our second story of the evening then. I hope I'm not glitching too badly. I look like one of those pirated TV channels in the 1990s. Meyer Shank Racing has announced they will take a sabbatical from the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship in 2024. MSR has competed in IMSA competition since 2004, going from a race-winning privateer into becoming a factory-backed championship-winning organization. At the previous race in Indianapolis, the team made its 350th start in North American sports car competition. They won championships in 2019, 2020, and 2022, including several crown jewel races, 3 times winners of the Rolex 24 at Daytona, plus 2 victories in the Salon's 6 Hours of the Glen and the Multiple Petit Le Mans as well. Now, coming through, remember, things went downhill earlier this year in the Rolex 24 after the team got in big trouble after Acura discovered MSR had manipulated tire pressure data and reported it directly to IMSA. We discussed that live on the Grid Tonight show back in June, I believe. An investigation occurred and IMSA ended up hitting the team hard with penalties such as stripping points away, taking away the prize money, fining the team, among other things. Acura made it clear publicly they weren't pleased with this at all and we've wondered on previous shows if the relationship between Meyer Shank Racing and Acura and IMSA would end over this one incident. Now there will be a pause on the IMSA program next year as the team focuses on their IndyCar program with a return to IMSA planned for the future. The photo courtesy there of Meyer Shank Racing. Kobe's back with us for this one as well, and we'll start with you on this. Do you think the Daytona incident was the ultimate nail in the coffin? How much will IMSA miss this team's presence on the grid, and do you expect an improvement in IndyCar?
Yeah, reflecting on what happened at Daytona, we talked about here in the air months ago that it would be really hard for them to recover from this. We saw how mad Acura was publicly about this, saying, that they agreed with the penalty and thought it was completely justified. And if you read the Sports Car 365 article from Wayne Taylor entering the 12 Hours of Sebring, Wayne Taylor was pretty mad as well, saying like he didn't really trust him anymore as a manufacturer teammate. And with the way everything turned out at Daytona, it really seemed like that Meyer Shank Racing and Acura, they wouldn't be able to continue in IMSA, and here they are. They won't be together next year. It seems like Acura is going to be throwing all their weight behind the 2 Wayne Taylor racing Acuras that are going to be racing in 2024, have 2 strong cars coming up, and it seems like an active Formula One driver is going to be in one of those seats. So really exciting times for Wayne Taylor Racing with the Andretti Autosport and the Acura team there. But yeah, Meyer Shank Racing has been around in the IMSA competition for a very long time, from the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series days and into the merger when Grand Am and the American Le Mans Series merged, and we saw the Shank team continue on. And you mentioned, Josh, they went from a privateer organization mixing up with all the big dogs, and Michael Shank has really grown this organization significantly over time into becoming a factory-backed operation tied with a manufacturer. In the handful of years they were together with Acura, we saw a lot of success with them. It's unfortunate that this relationship in sports car racing is coming to an end, but at least they still have their IndyCar program to focus on while they'll be missing IMSA. This is more so a goodbye for now. We'll see you later. So I'm sure we'll see Meyer Shank Racing competing in IMSA somewhere, some form in 2025 or beyond. And I think that this is a really good opportunity to bring over the sports car people onto the IndyCar program, to the struggling IndyCar program, and try to make sure that this program can get much better in 2024 for Felix Rosenquist and Tom Blomqvist, and then Elio Castroneves ultimately keeping that drive for 5 alive in the Indy 500 only program next year. The only thing that really stinks about this whole situation is for Colin Braun, who's going to be looking for a ride in 2024. Finally got an opportunity to get a factory back seat in top level prototype racing, and now it doesn't seem like that there may not be a place for him right now.
That's a great point about Colin Braun. I haven't thought about that. He's been one of those guys that's been teetering on the edge of getting a factory drive in IMSA for forever, it seems like. Finally gets one, and then he gets the rug pulled under him when the team pulls out after just one season. It is a shame. You think back, a couple of years ago when Helio did win at Indianapolis, and Meyer Shank were flying in IndyCar at that point, obviously with that win, and their IMSA program was going well, but both have kind of dipped, although they did win on track, as you mentioned, at Daytona. So they're going to be running that third car for Helio at the 500 next year. 2 rookies in the team in IndyCar next year, as we've talked about, with Tom Blomqvist and Linus Lundqvist coming in. So I agree with you, Kobe. I don't think this is a permanent goodbye for the team. I think this is going to be a little we'll be back in a couple of years' time kind of deal from Shank. He's been involved in some way, shape or form in ALMS and in IMSA for many, many years. So hopefully they can get some sort of program back together maybe in a couple of years' time once they've got their IndyCar program going well again, and they can be back. Just quickly, because we don't get to do this often on the show, you may keep seeing me glance over. We've got actual live motorsport going on at the moment. Keeping an eye on what's happening at Bathurst. We're halfway through the Porsche's practice at the mountain, and former British Carrera Cup champion Harry King, after a trip to the gravel, is top of the board with halfway through the session in a one-off drive at the mountain. So good to see a Brit flag at the top of the timing page at Mount Panorama.
Yeah, really. Okay, yeah, really exciting to see all the action this weekend at Bathurst. The great race of Australia. Always look forward to this race each year, and I'll be interested to see which two drivers going to end up at the top of the mountain when the checker flag falls at the end of 1,000 kilometers. And also, Matt, want to make a quick correction. It's Felix Rosenquist is going to be with Tom Blomqvist. Lundqvist is going to it's going to be at Chip Ganassi Racing, and also too many Lundqvist, Rosenquist, Blomqvist.
I give up. They were all in Formula E at one point as well. I mean, I just ended up saying it was the Quists. It was just easier. Mount Panorama is going to be so much fun as well. But it's common. There always comes the worst time for me and Matt, because it's always in a lull week for all the other night races that go on. So you think you get a break, and then you don't get a break because you've got Bathurst. But at least you can. Yeah.
It's quite surprising that for a change, it's not on the same weekend as the Japanese Grand Prix, because they've always dovetailed together recently. And quickly, while we're just talking about supercars, and we've talked about the NASCAR schedule, we've not got the supercars calendar yet, but I would imagine that Bathurst is going to be on the same weekend as the Roval again, as it is this weekend. So I would expect that Shane van Gisbergen will be in Charlotte next October and not in Bathurst, New South Wales. But we'll wait and see what happens with that one.
It's going to be some big news then, and we'll keep it all covered here on the Grid Tonight show, which is basically where all the top news stories wait. But tonight is just all exploded with news today, and some additional major sports car news that came out this afternoon. Aston Martin Racing will build a Le Mans hypercar that will compete in the FIA World Endurance Championship and IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship in 2025. Aston Martin will enter the hypercar and GTP classes respectively, with the Heart of Racing team fielding at least one Aston Martin Valkyrie in each championship. The car is expected to debut in the 2025 Rolex 24 at Daytona, as Aston Martin becomes the first manufacturer with plans to field an LMH car in IMSA competition. So far, we've only seen representation from the LMDH platform. Now, the Heart of Racing team principal Ian James said the organisation has big ambitions in endurance racing, believes it's the right time for them to step up to compete for overall wins in both championships, and has confidence in Aston Martin Performance Technologies to give them everything needed to be successful. Additionally, there will be new Vantage GT3 and GT4 cars set to roll out in 2024, the graphic courtesy of Aston Martin Racing. And I love the little nod of the 007 as well as their racing number. Now, are you surprised that Aston Martin revealed the Valkyrie hypercar program when many thought they canned it for good?
Well, I mean, this is tremendous news for people in this part of the world where I'm sat. Milton Keynes represent, Aston Martin, Newport Pagnell represent. Screw you, Red Bull Racing. Screw you, High Speed 2. There's been a lot of talk about High Speed 2 in the UK news. Let's talk about hypercar. And Aston Martin are back at Le Mans, which is going to be just tremendous. Heart of Racing a couple of weeks ago, when this story was mooted, they went, oh, well, you know, we're focusing on GTD. Those fibbers, they knew exactly what they were doing. And it's good to see an Aston Martin 007. I've got a model of a 007, the old Golf DBR9 in the cabinet next to me. And it's good to see Aston Martin back in the top class. And good to see as you said, Josh, with a different variety perhaps coming to IMSA for the first time. We're going to have to wait a little while for it. There was some talk about Ferrari maybe bringing one over for the Rolex 24 next year. That's now gone cold again. So Aston Martin filling the breach with an American team running the car, of course. So really good to see this program up and about. There was some talk about Aston Martin a little while ago and whether this might happen or not. I don't think they do. I don't think Red Bull own Milton Keynes. Sorry, it's just down the road. Does Aston Martin Hypercar work with the F1 team? This is going to be a completely separate project, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if in a couple of years Lance Stroll isn't driving one. Amber, for your question.
Unless he becomes a tennis player.
I actually saw a comment earlier today about Lance Stroll that saying, "Oh, so this hypercar is how Aston Martin will solve his Lance Stroll problem in Formula One." We all know Lance Stroll really likes sports car racing. He's competed in sports car races before, so it would not surprise me to see him involved in this program in some way or form in the future, whether just for the big crown jewel enduros or a full-time program after his Formula One career comes to an end. But yeah, it's really exciting to see the Aston Martin team get this hypercar program rolling again. Remember, there was a lot of talk about this last year, and then they decided not to do it. And now for some reason that we don't know, they decided to bring it back. Really exciting to see a hypercar finally in IMSA. As you mentioned, Josh, we've only seen the LMDH GTP style cars, but now we'll get to see what a hypercar can do. It's unfortunate we have to wait until 2025 for it, but based on how this car looks, it's going to be very exciting once this car actually comes online and we see it in the 2025 Rolex 24 at Daytona. We're really excited to see what Aston Martin will be able to do when they get back into top level prototype racing.
Now, in what seemed to be an inevitable divorce, Honda and Marc Marquez have agreed to mutually part ways at the end of the 2023 MotoGP season. With a year remaining on Marquez's 4-year contract, both sides felt it was best to end this relationship early and move on. After spending 11 years together, Marquez and Honda earned 6 Premier Class World Championships, 5 Triple Crowns, 59 wins, 101 podiums, and 64 poles. Marquez thanked Honda for all the memories and noted while they're separating, they'll always be together. As Marquez departs Honda, it's heavily rumoured in the media that he'll join the Ganassi Ducati in 2024. The graphic there courtesy of MotoGP. Matt, how odd will it be next season not seeing Marquez on a Honda bike for the first time? And do you think this fresh start in 2024 will see him return to his old form?
It's going to be really, really strange, isn't it, to see Marc not in, well, we would presume, not in Repsol colours, because, of course, he was in those colours in Moto2 and 125s, because he was in 125 before it's Moto3, on his way through. But as you said, this has been coming for all year. And you have to go, if you rewind the clock all the way back to that very first race back after the COVID break at Jerez, when he came off and bashed his arm into many pieces, it seemed. You have to go, before end of 2019, who would have said in 3 years this is going to be all over between Marquez and Honda, and he's going to be off to a satellite Ducati team? How the mighty have fallen. No, not all of his own fault. Of course, the bike has been pretty terrible, especially this year. Him and Mia have really struggled on it, as have Yamaha. The Japanese manufacturers in MotoGP really have had a struggle on their hands. This, to put it into kind of context for non-MotoGP aficionados, this would be kind of like Lewis Hamilton leaving Mercedes and going to race for, I don't know, someone in the midfield like Haas or Williams. That kind of thing. Joseph Newgarden going to race for Dale Coyne after being successful. Is that kind of big seismic shift. And as you said, it looks like he's going to Gresini to team up with his brother, who they were teammates a couple of years ago, weren't they, in the top team? Although Marc spent most of that year on the sidelines and Alex held up the baton for Repsol. But got a podium, didn't he, Marc, at the weekend in that shortened race at Motegi? And we said it might happen going into the Motegi weekend, and it looks like, and then it didn't happen. As well, it's probably going to happen this week. And we're at Indonesia next, which is where the main sponsor of the Gresini team is from. So they haven't said anything, not a peep out of Gresini today. So we imagine that there's something. Well, maybe this time next week we'll be talking about Marc Marquez signing for Gresini. He's had to buy himself out of this contract. Let's not beat around the bush here. It's been a Marc thing. None of his crew are coming with him. They will stay with the Repsol team. This is a Marquez solitary move to go to Gresini. Strange sentence I'm about to say, Marc Marquez revitalized his career.
I don't know, because it's really hard to say, because as you said, he's always raced on a Honda. I've got the stats in front of me from the commentary we did at the weekend, and some of them in pink ink as well. 240 Grand Prix starts in total. He's won 85 of them. He's had 92 poles, 75 fast laps, 140 podiums, world championships across MotoGP, Moto2, the 125s. And he's been on a Honda since Portugal 2008. It's a long time to be on that type of bike and then just move it around. I was commentating the first time he won a MotoGP race back in 2013 at Kota. And it makes me feel old, because at that point, he was the rookie, the young, upcoming star on a bike, dominating, got pole position his first race, took victory in race 3 of the season. He was right there. To leave Honda, we've never seen this before. And especially with a contract still in place for the following year. Valentino Rossi, Jorge Lorenzo, they've all jumped to different teams at the end of their contracts. For Marc to say, no, this Honda's no good, mid-contract, it's never happened before. So an additional question I want to ask you on that one. He's going to be riding this year's Ducati, which at the moment is already being beaten in the championships by last year's Ducati. Will Marc be happy being on a year-old bike for multiple seasons in his Gresini team, or does he want the top-tier machinery?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out, isn't it? I mean, you look at the way the championship's kind of unfolding at the minute, with Jorge Martin coming up on the rails with a few races to go on, not the current spec. Is Marc looking at that and going, no, that looks like a tasty bit of kit. I could find myself on that and go well. But then Bagnaia was doing well at the start of the year and has had his troubles and his injuries and everything else. It's been the Ducati Cup, really, hasn't it, for most of the season in MotoGP, apart from Fabio Gianantonio, who's found himself a little bit further off the pace than the rest of the VR46s and the Pramacs and, of course, the Works team. So to spin back to your first question, will he go well? Of course he'll go well. Of course he'll win races. But can he mount a championship challenge like, we expect him to do? Or is it going to go the way of Rossi when he went to Ducati and obviously got himself injured in that period as well? And other people that have tried to jump, like Lorenzo, didn't really go well at Honda and things. So it could be a poison chalice, but as I said, it could be, exactly what Marc needs. And let's be honest, this season has just been shocking for both of those riders to get all the way through to October before they got their first podium. It's just unthinkable for the Honda factory team.
Well, we knew all too well that he would be leaving as well, Honda, at the end of this season. And it was nobody's guess that him and Honda would never, ever be getting back together. Now he's going to go with a blank space to Ducati and hope that he can make something enchanted there. Now, some surprising IndyCar news emerged this afternoon involving Romain Grosjean and Andretti Global. In this statement right here, posted by Grosjean, he starts off by acknowledging the good times he had with Andretti during a turbulent 2 years together. However, he says he's expected to continue racing with the fine people at Andretti in the coming years and feels disappointed that it isn't being fulfilled, but wishes the team the best moving forward as he explores other options to continue his IndyCar career. Earlier this year, it seemed like Andretti and Grosjean would be on the path to continuing their partnership, but it all fell apart as on-track incidents and tensions between team and driver piled up. Then Andretti went on to sign Marcus Ericsson to drive alongside Colton Herta and Kyle Kirkwood in 2024. After everything that has transpired, Grosjean has commenced an arbitration proceeding in the state of Indiana against Andretti, seeking to protect his rights. Now, Grosjean's been represented by John Mainley and Mark Owen Barnes and Thornburg LLP. We've seen them many a time across motorsports as well, especially in IndyCar. And according to the Duke University School of Law, arbitration is a dispute resolution process in which the parties select a neutral third party to resolve their claims. Parties typically agree to arbitrate in order to avoid the time, expense, and complexity of litigation. Andretti has not made any public statements up to this point. As somebody who's gone through a segment of arbitration in the past, let me just tell you something, it's no piece of cake as well. So could this situation complicate Grosjean's ambitions to find an IndyCar seat for 2024?
Before I answer your question, Josh, going to catch up on some comments in our active chat room. Yeah. Amber saying that Palou versus McLaren, Grosjean versus Andretti. The lawyers at Indy are definitely making bank. Adams says amen to that. Humperdinck says satellite Ducati is still a Ducati in reference to our previous segment on Marc Marquez. And our own Joe Samaniego says the first time a grid ranking world champion is leaving a team to race full time with another team in the same series. So a very interesting little stat there. And Adam Limmery says that it'll be odd for Marc Marquez not to be on a Honda in 2024. And getting back to the question about Romain Grosjean, this was quite a little surprising story that came out of nowhere this afternoon on such a busy news day. And anytime you're going through the legal process like this, it is never a good situation. And people in racing series don't really like to see this type of things. I mean, with Alex Palou, it may be different because he's a two-time IndyCar champion now. He's a really great driver and all of this. And when you look at Romain Grosjean, yes, he's shown some promise in his short IndyCar career, but we've also seen a lot of mistakes, a lot of unnecessary accidents, and a lot of things that could have been prevented. And we saw this team and driver completely fall apart at the end of the 2023 IndyCar season, where they were just shouting at each other in Portland. It looked like a very toxic environment to be a part of. We still don't know a lot about this situation, so there's not much more I can add here. But I'll just say when both sides are engaged in arbitration like this, it's certainly not a good situation to be a part of at all.
No, there was a tweet from Matt Archuleta, which made me laugh this afternoon. We've heard of the 100 days to Indy. This is the 100 days to arbitration for between the Palou, Andretti, McLaren, Ganassi McLaren thing. And now Romain Grosjean, just odd, isn't it, that this has come about? I'm trying to piece together, I'm just trying to find some stats for you, which I can't even find Romain's name on this list. Here we go. I'm trying to piece together this story this afternoon after this came out. Some tweets or posts, whatever we're calling them nowadays, from Nathan Brown from the Indy Star. Grosjean at the beginning of the season was on fire, wasn't he? Could have won at St. Pete, had the clash with Scott McLaughlin late on in that race. Was in position to score well at Texas, but crashed right at the end. I think he got a podium at Barber, which is where I'm just scouting towards now to have a quick. He did. It was second and then second again at Long Beach and then at Barber. So first four races going well, 2 podiums, but yet 2 crashes. Had a pole position in there as well, or 2 pole positions in there as well. And then at Indianapolis, there was talk about him extending his contract around the 500 time with the team. And what sounds like what's transpired, this is not fact, this is just what Nathan Brown's gone off today from Indy Star. Grosjean had signed an extension for next year at least, but Andretti did not. And the paperwork was done in terms of Grosjean's side, and it was all handed in, ready to go, but it was not signed from the other side. And now they've swooped in, as we've talked about the last couple of weeks, and you mentioned there as well, that Marcus Ericsson's joining the team for next year. So contracts are contracts. They're only as worth as much as the bit of paper that they're written on. And it seems in that case that that looks like what's happened here with Romain. He's had flashes of speed, and he's been a great story to have him in the IndyCar Championship. That emotional first podium at the road course a couple of years ago, Indianapolis, when he first came back, or a couple of races into his start of his career, was just terrific. But flashes of speed, but crashes. It's kind of Romain's career to a T, isn't it? And unfortunately, it's come down to this. Hopefully, this doesn't drag on in parallel with the Polo thing as we go through the winter break, and Romain can get himself a ride sorted for next season. But at the moment, it's looking like it's going to be a long few weeks for the Grosjean legal team.
You could have picked a better word than on fire at the start of the season. I was giggling at that. I was like, really?
Sorry, Freudian slip.
Well, Grosjean did a couple of those this year anyway. As Amber says, if Grosjean wins their case, it's his first win in a long time in anything motorsport related. Yeah, Grosjean hasn't won since a GP2 Asia race in about 2012, I believe, or something along those lines. Maybe 2011, somewhere along those lines, really long ago. And he hasn't won any form of racing since, I think, 2016. In what was like a kart race. So, yeah, it's not great. Behind the mic, Matthew says, I hate that Romain might be leaving. I truly think that IndyCar and NBC failed to promote him properly to become a real fan favourite. Well, they tried, didn't they, at the start? They called him the Phoenix as well, rising from the ashes. They tried to give him all those pet names, but sadly, nothing ever stuck. I think Crasher as well, and Destroyer of Racing Dreams was a little bit easier on him as well somehow in the latter half. Oh, and Self-Sabotage as well, and Teammate Crasher, if you all remember what happened at Mid-Ohio as well. So there's a couple of things, and maybe the writing was on the wall for Andretti and Romain Grosjean ever since Michael Andretti went screaming through the paddock, where is he? After crashing with his teammate back last season. Okay, that's enough rambling from me, because now it's time to hand over to Matt White, who's got the latest from the Grid EPI update.
We'll do a quick Porsche's update, as there's 5 minutes to go as a red flag at Bathurst because Rodney Jane is in the gravel at the last corner. So that's going to be the end of the session for Porsche's at Bathurst with, I think it was Fabian Coulthard top of the tree before the graphic disappeared on the screen. But it looks like that session is going to come to an end under a red flag. Time for this week's EPI update, and there was only one race on at the weekend which scored, and it was the final race of the GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup. That was at Barcelona at Circuit de Catalunya. It was a 1-2 for AF Corsa Ferrari, the new 296, getting its first 1-2 in the championship. Alessio Rivera, Nicholas Nielsen, and Robert Schwartzman, former Formula 2 refugee, getting the win in the pro category. And overall in the Gold Cup, Adam Matecki, Aurelien Panis, son of Olivier, and Alberto Di Falco getting the win in the Gold Cup. In silver, it was Fabio Crestani, Sam Neary, and Gerhard Travaza. And Bronze Cup was won by Enrique Chavez, Miguel Ramos, and Luis Pret. And Isaac Tatumlu, Lorcan Hannafin, and Samantha Tan. Second win in 2 weeks on the road for Samantha Tan. She gets to keep this one, unlike the one that she had at Sebring last week in GT World Challenge America, which was taken away from her due to a technical. So that is the only results to bring you from the weekend. Here is how the points stack up going into the beginning of the slowdown now as we get towards the end of the year, but we've still got some big events to come. It's that Toyota trio still top of the tree with Brendan Hartley, Rio Hirakawa, and Sebastian Buemi. They can still be beaten by, or Brendan should I say, can still be beaten by Kamui Kobayashi, who is fifth, if though he, Mike Conway, and Jose Maria Lopez win the last race of the WEC season at Bahrain. Then Kamui will jump from fifth to first. That comes up in, I think, 4 weeks' time. This weekend, we have 2 races to score. They're both on Saturday. The last round of the Nürburgring Langstrecke Series at the Nordschleife, and the Intercontinental GT Challenge lands in the States. It's at Indianapolis for the 8 hour. Looking forward to that. It's also a round of the GT World Challenge America as well. So that's the top 50. Plenty of familiar names. A lot of them that have been kicking around in that scoring loop for the season, but it's all down to the 2 Toyotas, as we've been saying for the last couple of weeks. Updates on those results I've just mentioned from the races at the weekend in this slot on this show. Next week, Now it's time to go back to Kobe with much more news from a busy day of news.
Thanks, Matt. Time for some more motorsports news from around the world. Matt Craft and Nick Sanchez have been penalized by NASCAR for the post-race altercation last weekend at Talladega Superspeedway. Crafton was fined $25,000, while Sanchez was fined $5,000. Additionally, Renee Sanchez, who is Nick's father, won't be allowed to attend NASCAR races for the rest of the 2023 season for his role in the post-race drama. This happens after Crafton and Sanchez made contact on track in last Saturday's Truck Series race at Talladega, which ended in a fight between the two drivers after the race. According to a NASCAR staff report, witnesses said Crafton confronted Sanchez as saw punches thrown, resulting in a bloody face for Sanchez, who threatened Crafton with retaliation at Homestead. And right here, got some statements from Rev Racing, Nick Sanchez's team, Sanchez himself. Rev said, at this time, we remain very disappointed in the incident that transpired post-race at Talladega. NASCAR has made the decision to fine both drivers at different monetary amounts. The situation is very unfortunate, but we stand alongside our driver and focus on moving forward. Thank you to our fans and partners who have shown support and concern for Nick over the last few days. Our gratitude is immeasurable. As a team, we have never been more motivated to continue on in pursuit of our first win at Homestead and ultimately a championship. The Nick Sanchez said, this time, I will accept NASCAR's penalty issued after the post-race occurrence at Talladega. It is a very unfortunate situation that negatively impacted a lot of individuals in the sport we are all so very passionate about and privileged to participate in each day. As for the incident, anything that doesn't pertain to better myself as a race car driver or win doesn't have my energy or focus and never will. I look forward to continuing my quest for the championship in Miami. And I guess we'll put that situation right there to bed. In regards to the possibility of an 11th team joining the F1 grid in the future, the FIA announced that Andretti Global is moving on to the next phase. Out of the 4 teams that were interested in F1, Andretti was the only one to meet the criteria set by the FIA. FIA President Mohammed bin Salem congratulated Michael Andretti and his team for submitting a thorough application. Now the FIA's findings will head over to Formula One management for commercial discussions. It probably won't be smooth sailing. Don't be surprised if Andretti runs into some strong opposition from the hardliners inside the F1 paddock, who haven't been very receptive of the possibility of Andretti Global joining the F1 grid. So stay tuned for future shows and more updates on this developing story. Arrow McLaren and Junco's Hollinger Racing have formed a strategic partnership ahead of the 2024 NTT IndyCar Series season. The alliance may evolve over time, beginning with a commercial and strategic focus, working together to grow their respective propositions. Where both teams partner with Chevrolet, they also consider this new alliance as an opportunity for talent development for engineers, mechanics, and drivers. Arrow McLaren and Junco's Hollinger Racing's decision to work together comes after Team Penske decided to partner up with AJ Fort Racing in a similar manner. Some other changes occurred at Arrow McLaren, with 2 people receiving promotions. Racing director Gavin Ward will become team principal to better reflect his responsibilities leading the team, and he'll report directly to McLaren CEO Zach Brown. General manager Brian Barnhart will report to Ward, as he'll oversee the business operations and administration of the team, including strategic partnerships and special projects. Meanwhile, Tony Kanaan will go from special advisor to sporting director, which will see TK work closely with drivers, help build and strengthen partner relationships, and serve as a resource for the team to stay performance focused in its race day work. Kanaan said he used his previous role as special advisor to test the waters to see if he liked the business side of the sport, graphic courtesy of Junco's Hollinger Racing. Other schedule to talk about, the 2024 Indy Next schedule has been released on March 10th. The season kicks off on the streets of St. Pete, followed by Barber, a doubleheader on the IMS road course, Detroit, Road America, and another doubleheader at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. After that is Mid-Ohio, Iowa, Gateway, Portland, Milwaukee, and the season finale on the streets of Nashville. Series that's been starred for oval races in the last handful of years. 3 of the last 5 races will be on short ovals, so a positive development there. Graphic courtesy of Indy Next. Now I'll turn over to Matt and Josh for another segment of Hots and Nods.
Yes, indeed. No pick a winner to do on the show tonight, so we'll reconvene with that on next week's show, when we will have MotoGP Sprint at the very least to do on the show next week. Talking of sprint, it is a Grand Prix sprint weekend in Qatar. Josh, the floor is yours for Hots.
Okay, well, we had the MotoGP Japanese Grand Prix, and I want to say immediately that my hot goes to the race control, because that MotoGP race started, yes, in bad conditions, and everyone came in for the flag to flag rule, but they got one thing right, and that was when the original red flag was called, because Zarco crashed, but the hands were already going up at the riders to say that there was lightning, and they stopped it immediately. Zarco going down was just a coincidence. We'll get into hots and knots. We'll get into the knots later about Dorna and everything. Second hot, just want to say well done, Jorge Martin. Matt, cover your ears, fingers in, please. Well done, Jorge Martin. Pole position, getting the sprint, getting the main Grand Prix. Great race there as well. Does it for the third time this year. Becomes the most successful in this new generation of MotoGP, where we have the sprints and the feature races. And another hot, personally for me, from that past weekend as well, was the fact that it was all done by around about 8 o'clock in the morning, which means that, yes, I was tired as anything going to bed, but I actually got to get a couple of hours sleep before waking up and then, having a normal day. But I did go around tired. As one person watching will know how tired and disorganized I was throughout that weekend as well. And I'm just about catching up with it now. So very thankful that this weekend it's not a night race, apart from Bathurst.
One quick hot. I don't have any knots. One or two quick hots. Talladega was excellent on Sunday. Really enjoyed the Cup race. And a second hot to Oyt Tanak finally getting a win after the summer of trying in WRC. And he's found his way back to Hyundai for next season. Another story that we didn't quite get in the news, but Oyt Tanak going back to Hyundai in WRC after a season at Ford. But good to see Ford on the board for a second time this year.
Now, the knots we're going to move on to now, aren't we, Matt? And, well, I've got to say, and I've said this throughout the year with Dorna and MotoGP and the stewards, was the fact is that why the race started on dry tyres on a wet track, I don't know. Now, the reason is because if the race was declared wet, they set a precedent last time in India that they'd have to have a 15-minute wet practice session. And with the daylight being lost, that wasn't possible. So I knew it was going to be trouble from the second that the lights went out. And everyone was slipping and sliding going on as well off the track. Then they all steamed down pit road, all going straight in, changing over bikes, and then just limping around until the half distance mark. I've got it written here, lap 13, red flag finish time. And I made a note of noting that because I knew that was going to be the halfway time. I knew that was going to, as Matt literally said halfway in the show, he's walked off. But I knew that was going to be the halfway time in the race. But nobody else knew. So we had the commentators and everyone else going like, well, we're going to have to restart this. Dorna then thought, oh, yeah, we're going to have to restart this race. We didn't need to. So they sent them on a formation lap. Oh, hang on a minute. I'm going to take Matthew off the screen and put me on. So, yeah, they put them on another formation lap. And then for some reason as well, just decided it wasn't going to work. And they put the red flag out again because we were losing to the daylight. So it was literally so bizarre. It was one of the strangest things I've ever seen in MotoGP to restart a race when it was pitch black outside. Literally, you could not see a thing. And it was basically racing at midnight. So it was not great at all. But other knots as well. Let's get some comments in as well as we finish the Hots and Knots segment as well. Matt's coming in with his knots. Matt Crafton, he continued to make himself look absolutely stupid. I'm trying to be nice with my words. Better than revenge, I think, Matthew. Matt Crafton should have been gone for at least a race, if not the last two. Okay, so he's going off as well. Not really great. A great Talladega weekend, and finally a NASCAR schedule. Yes, finally a NASCAR schedule that will be enchanting to watch next season. When are you going to add Kimi Antonelli to the list? Well, there's a thing about Kimi Antonelli to the grid rankings for all racing series. It's difficult with the grid rankings as to what actually counts, what doesn't. It's going to be an international series as well with more world championship standings. Better explain that is Matt White, but he's disappeared because he's not feeling too good. But yeah, with Kimi Antonelli, there is a very strong link. He's now managed by Toto Wolff, and he's going to go up into F3 and then to F2. And Kimi Antonelli is a shoo-in to possibly replace Lewis Hamilton in 2027 when his contract ends as well. So be warned out that Kimi Antonelli could go straight into a Mercedes team at the end of the Lewis Hamilton contract. From karting to Freck, he's won every championship, says Kansas. He really has, and he really is a driver to watch as well. Fearless on the track, completely brilliant, and got to be watching some things as well for what we're going to see with Lewis Hamilton, who is, of course, part of the folklore Mercedes, but it's not going to be too much going in for much longer. Hot for Amber says, Tony and Arca got a top 5, and we'll be at Toldo cheering her was on as well. Absolutely as well. I'm butchering that names as well. Amber's knots coming through. Trucks at Dega is old as well. It's not working at Talladega, is it? All that well. I know there's been a lot of you in the comments room tonight, so if we've got any more before we go for the closing. I went to Monza to watch him 2 weeks ago. He's incredible. Absolutely. Kimi Antonelli definitely up there as well. I know George Morgan, who was the PSGL F1 commentator and also the International GT and Academy commentator as well. He's always been top tier about him and saying everything about what he's going to be finding in the future. Okay, I think we've wrapped up on all the comments as well. There's no more blank space. Is looking in the chat, so all good to go. No, there's one more for Keynes as well. He's going to go to F2 next year with Prema. I think he's in F1 in 2 years with Williams. Sad for Logan that Kimi is moving up very fast. Sargent's not going to be on too long as well. They want to get rid of him. Kimi Antonelli is going to be one of the next best hots going in, so watch out for him. My Taylor Swift references have gone off my brain as I'm trying to get ready for the end of the show, so I've lost out. So then again, that's champagne problems for me. One more. Okay, so taking a look at the upcoming schedule. Saturday, our Grid Live pre-race, the Great Race of Australia, the Bathurst 1000, is taking place this weekend in Supercars. Sunday, Grid Live wrap-up is 90 minutes after the NASCAR Cup Series race at the Charlotte Roval. Monday, Grid Live Encore and a full recap of the Xfinity Series race at Charlotte and the ARCA season finale as well at Toldo. Reminder that this weekend for Formula One, they make their second trip to Doha, the Losail International Circuit in Qatar, and that is a sprint weekend. So on Friday, you get the practice one and qualifying. Saturday, you get the sprint shootout and the sprint race. Sunday, you get the main Grand Prix. And Max Verstappen could be crowned champion on Saturday. He only needs 3 points and he is champion. So make sure you're around all weekend here on the Grid Network and on my watch-alongs as well. Link to all that is in the descriptions. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for helping reach the milestone of 740 subscribers. Now help us reach our new goal of 800 subscribers on the road to 1,000. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notifications and follow all of our social media platforms and visit gridranking.com. Take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. Join Colin, Mark, Deshelle, Robin, David and Matthew in investing each month in the Grid Network. We encourage you to join the amazing group of people who keep us on the air. And once we hit $500 per month, we can start sending out our team to the track to cover more races and continue expanding our coverage. The link to all that is in the video description. If you want to do a one-time donation, you can click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board, and as well invest as much as you want and consider buying a specific on-air personality a cup of coffee and they'll thank you on the air. You can also now support us by donating during our live streams through the super chat option. Now for Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish and Matt White, who's had to depart quite quickly from the Grid Endurance Performance Index, I'm Joshua Birch. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a very busy news day. I must say congratulations to Kobe for getting that script sorted as well. A lot of news. So well done, mate. Fantastic. And we'll see you all next time. Take care. Good night.
Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos, including Life on the Grid, where we interview folks from the motorsports industry. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.